Joao Gomes to Man United. Why this Wolves star could be the perfect budget signing. Welcome back to United Daily Updates, your number one trusted source for all things Manchester United. If you are watching this for the first time, you are in the right place. We bring you honest, detailed, and accurate Manchester United news every single day. No clickbait. No made-up stories. Just real information that you can trust. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel right now and turn on those notifications so you never miss an update. We have thousands of United fans who rely on us for their daily dose of Red Devils news, and we want you to be part of this amazing community. Introduction. The transfer window is about to get very interesting. Imagine being able to sign a quality defensive midfielder for just £30 million in today's market. Sounds impossible, right? In a world where average players go for 60 or 70 million, finding genuine bargains seems like a thing of the past. But what if I told you Manchester United might have found exactly that kind of deal? We are just weeks away from the January transfer window opening. Manchester United need midfield reinforcements. Everyone knows it. Ruben Amorim knows it. The fans know it. The board knows it. The question is not whether United will sign a midfielder. The question is who will they sign and how much will it cost? Right now, there are several names being talked about. Some of them would cost over £100 million. Yes, you read that right. £100 million for a midfielder. In this economic climate, with financial fair play rules getting stricter, spending that kind of money is getting harder and harder to justify. But then there is Joao Gomes, a 23-year-old Brazilian defensive midfielder playing for Wolverhampton Wanderers. A player United have been tracking for years. A player who could become available for a fraction of what other targets would cost. A player who might just be the smartest signing United make in 2026. Today, we are going to dive deep into this story. We are going to talk about who Joao Gomes is and what he brings to the table. We are going to explain why he could be available for such a good price. We are going to look at all the other midfielders United are considering. And we are going to discuss what this means for Manchester United's transfer strategy going forward. This is not just about one player. This is about how Manchester United are changing their approach to transfers. This is about finding value in the market. This is about being smart with money while still improving the squad. So stick with me because this is going to be a detailed breakdown that will help you understand exactly what United are planning. Understanding Manchester United's midfield problem. Before we talk about Joao Gomes or any other transfer target, we need to understand why Manchester United desperately need a new midfielder. What is the actual problem here? Why is midfield considered one of the weakest areas of the squad? Let's start with the obvious. Casemiro. When United signed him from Real Madrid a few years ago, it looked like a brilliant move. He was one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. He had won everything at Real Madrid. He brought experience, quality, and leadership. And in his first season, he was fantastic. But time catches up with everyone in football. Casemiro is now 32 years old. He is not the player he was 2 years ago. His legs have slowed down. He gets caught out of position more often. He picks up silly yellow cards and red cards. He cannot cover the ground like he used to. These are just facts. It is not disrespectful to say this. It is just the reality of aging in professional football. United know they need to replace Casemiro. Not necessarily this January, but definitely soon. They need someone younger. Someone who can play that defensive midfield role for the next 5 or 6 years. Someone who can be the foundation of the team. But it is not just about Casemiro. Look at the overall midfield setup. Who else plays in that area? You have Bruno Fernandes, who is brilliant going forward but not really a defensive midfielder. You have Kobbie Mainoo, who we talked about extensively in our last video, but he is struggling for game time under Ruben Amorim. You have Mason Mount, but he is injured more often than he is fit. You have Christian Eriksen, but he is 32 years old and cannot play every week anymore. When you look at the squad, there is a real lack of quality defensive midfielders. There is a lack of players who can sit deep, break up attacks, win the ball back, and start moves from deep positions. This is a huge problem because modern football requires that type of player. Ruben Amorim knows this. He has been at United for a few months now and he can see the gaps in the squad. He has been working with what he has, but everyone knows reinforcements are needed. The question is not whether United will sign a midfielder. The question is which midfielder they will sign. And this is where the strategy gets interesting. Because United are not just looking at one type of player. They are looking at different profiles, different price points, different levels of experience. They want options. They want to make smart decisions rather than panic buys. Who is Joao Gomes and why should United fans care? Let me introduce you properly to Joao Gomes. If you have been watching the Premier League regularly, you probably know who he is. But for those who might not be familiar, let me break it down. Joao Gomes is 23 years old. He was born in Brazil and came through the youth system at Flamengo, one of the biggest clubs in South America. He made his professional debut there and quickly established himself as one of the best young defensive midfielders in Brazilian football. In 2023, Wolverhampton Wanderers signed him for around £15 million. At the time, it looked like a smart bit of business by Wolves. They were getting a young, talented Brazilian midfielder with huge potential. And when Gomes arrived in England, he did not disappoint. In his first season at Wolves, Gomes showed exactly why he was rated so highly. He was everywhere on the pitch. Tackling, intercepting, covering for his teammates, breaking up opposition attacks. He has this engine that just keeps going for 90 minutes. He does not stop running. He does not stop working. But what makes Gomes really special is his defensive awareness. He reads the game brilliantly. He knows when to press and when to hold his position. He knows when to commit to a tackle and when to just show the opponent onto their weaker foot. These are the little things that separate good defensive midfielders from average ones. Gomes is also very good in the air despite not being the tallest player. He wins headers. He competes physically. He does not get bullied by bigger opponents. In the Premier League, where physicality matters so much, this is a huge asset. Now, is he the most glamorous player in the world? No. Is he going to score 15 goals a season? No. Is he going to provide loads of assists? Probably not. But that is not his job. His job is to be the shield in front of the defense. His job is to win the ball back and give it to the creative players. His job is to make the team more solid defensively. And he does that job very well. Here is the really interesting part. Manchester United have been watching Joao Gomes for years. This is not some new interest that has suddenly appeared. Back in 2022, when Gomes was still playing for Flamengo in Brazil, United scouts were watching him. They liked what they saw. They put him on their list of potential targets. Then in 2024, when United was seriously thinking about replacing Casemiro, Gomes was on the shortlist again. So this is now the third time in 3 years that his name has come up in connection with Manchester United. That tells you something important. This is not random. United have done their homework on this player. Why did United not sign him before? Good question. Maybe the timing was not right. Maybe they thought he needed more time to develop. Maybe they were focusing on other positions. Maybe the price was not right. There are many reasons why transfers do not happen even when there is interest. But now, in 2025, the situation has changed. Gomes has proven himself in the Premier League. He has shown he can handle English football. He has gained experience and maturity. And most importantly, as we will discuss in detail later, he might be available for a very good price. The Wolves situation. Why relegation changes everything. To understand why Joao Gomes could be available for such a reasonable price, we need to talk about what is happening at Wolverhampton Wanderers. And I am not going to sugarcoat it. Wolves are in deep trouble. Look at the Premier League table right now. Wolves are sitting at the very bottom with just 2 points from 11 games. 2 points from 11 games. That is 1 draw and 10 losses. No wins at all. They have scored only 7 goals and conceded 25. Their goal difference is -18. To put this in perspective, this is the worst start to a Premier League season in Wolves' history. Ever. They are on course for a record low points total. Unless something dramatic changes very quickly, Wolves are getting relegated. It is not a question of if anymore. It is a question of when it becomes mathematically certain. Why does this matter for Manchester United? Because when a club gets relegated from the Premier League, everything changes. The financial impact is enormous. Relegation means losing all that Premier League television money. It means lower matchday revenues because Championship football does not sell tickets the same way. It means commercial partners might back out or renegotiate deals. To survive financially, relegated clubs almost always have to sell their best players. They have no choice. They need to raise money to cover their costs and to comply with financial regulations. And when you are selling from a position of weakness, you do not get top dollar for your players. This is where the opportunity comes for clubs like Manchester United. Joao Gomes is comfortably the best midfielder at Wolves. In a normal situation, if Wolves were mid-table and stable, Gomes would probably cost £60 or £70 million minimum. Maybe more. He is 23 years old, proven in the Premier League, and has years ahead of him. That is expensive. But if Wolves get relegated, which seems very likely, then everything changes. Suddenly, Gomes could be available for around £30 million. Maybe even less. That is less than half what he would normally cost. That is the kind of value that Manchester United should be jumping on. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. If Wolves get relegated, does that mean Gomes is not good enough? Does it mean he failed? Not at all. Sometimes, players find themselves at clubs that are in crisis through no fault of their own. Gomes has actually been one of Wolves' better players this season. The team around him has let him down, not the other way around. Think about it like this. When Leicester City got relegated a couple of seasons ago, James Maddison was clearly too good for that situation. He moved to Tottenham and has done brilliantly. The relegation had nothing to do with his quality. He was just at a club that was falling apart. The same thing is happening with Gomes at Wolves. He is too good for where they are heading. And both the player and the club know it. Which brings us to another important point. According to reliable reports, Joao Gomes and his representatives are actively pushing to leave Wolves. They can see the relegation coming. They know he needs to be playing at a higher level. They want to secure a move to a bigger club where he can compete for trophies and play European football. This is crucial information because it means the player is open to leaving. He wants to leave. That makes any potential transfer much easier to complete. You do not have to spend months convincing him to join. You do not have to worry about him rejecting the move. He wants out, and United would be a dream destination for him. Why January might not happen, but summer looks perfect. So if Joao Gomes wants to leave and United are interested, why not just do the deal in January? Why wait until summer? These are fair questions and the answer is all about timing and circumstances. Wolves have just appointed a new manager. Rob Edwards has come in to try and save them from relegation. It is a tough job, maybe an impossible job given where they are in the table. But the club is going to give him a chance. They are going to back him and give him the tools to try and turn things around. Part of that backing means not selling their best players in January. Wolves have made it clear to Rob Edwards that they will not be selling any top players in the winter window. They want to give him the best possible chance to keep them up. Selling Gomes in January would be like admitting defeat. It would be like saying we have given up on staying in the Premier League. So a January move for Gomes is very unlikely. Wolves will block it. They will tell United and any other interested clubs that he is not for sale right now. And to be fair to them, you can understand their position. They are fighting for survival. They need all their best players. But come summer, everything changes. By then, the season will be over. Wolves will almost certainly be relegated. And once that happens, they will have to sell. They will need to raise money. They will need to cut their wage bill. And players like Gomes will be allowed to leave for reasonable prices. This is actually perfect timing for Manchester United. Let me explain why. First, it gives United the rest of this season to properly assess their midfield situation. Maybe Kobbie Mainoo starts playing more under Ruben Amorim. Maybe Christian Eriksen finds a late career resurgence. Maybe one of the young academy players steps up. By summer, United will have a much clearer picture of what they actually need. Second, it gives them time to negotiate properly. January is always a difficult window. Clubs do not want to sell. Prices are inflated. Everything is rushed. But in the summer, there is more time. You can have proper negotiations. You can structure deals better. You can take your time to get everything right. Third, it allows United to potentially sign multiple midfielders. Maybe they get Gomes for £30 million. Maybe they also get Adam Wharton or Carlos Baleba or Elliot Anderson. With the money they save on Gomes, they can afford to bring in 2 quality midfielders instead of just one expensive one. Fourth, it is better for the player. Gomes can finish the season at Wolves. He can stay fit. He can keep playing regularly. Then he joins United in the summer with a full pre-season under Ruben Amorim. He learns the system properly. He builds relationships with his new teammates. He arrives at Old Trafford ready to hit the ground running. So yes, we might have to wait a few more months. But good things come to those who wait. And if United can sign Joao Gomes for £30 million in the summer, that patience will be worth it. The other midfield targets United are considering. Now, Joao Gomes is not the only midfielder on Manchester United's radar. Not even close. The club is looking at several options because they want to cover all their bases. They want to have backup plans. They want to make sure they end up with quality players regardless of which specific deal they pursue. So let's talk about the other names that keep coming up in relation to United's midfield search. Adam Wharton from Crystal Palace is a big one. Wharton is a young English midfielder who has been absolutely brilliant this season. He is only 20 years old, but he plays with the composure and intelligence of someone much older. He can pass the ball. He can tackle. He reads the game well. He has everything you want in a modern midfielder. The problem with Wharton? Crystal Palace will want a fortune for him. We are talking about a young English player who is performing at a high level in the Premier League. That does not come cheap. Some reports suggest he could cost 70 or 80 million pounds. That is a lot of money for someone with relatively little experience at the top level. Then there is Carlos Baleba from Brighton. Baleba is 21 years old and has been one of Brighton's standout players this season. He is a box-to-box midfielder who can do everything. He can defend. He can attack. He has great energy. He is strong and athletic. And according to recent reports from top journalist David Ornstein, Baleba would be open to joining Manchester United. But again, the price is going to be very high. Brighton are not a selling club anymore. They are backed by wealthy owners. They are doing well in the Premier League. They do not need to sell their best young players. If United want Baleba, they will probably have to pay close to £100 million. That is huge money. Elliot Anderson from Nottingham Forest is another target. Anderson is 22 years old and has been impressive since joining Forest. He is an energetic midfielder who gets up and down the pitch. He works hard. He has quality on the ball. He would fit into Ruben Amorim's system quite well. The challenge with Anderson is that Forest do not want to sell him. They are having a decent season and he is an important part of their team. Getting him out of the City ground, especially in January, would be very difficult. Maybe in the summer there is more chance, but even then it would be expensive. There is also Alex Scott from Bournemouth who has emerged as a potential target. Scott is another young English midfielder who has caught United's eye with his performances. He is technically gifted and has a good football brain. But once again, we are talking about a player who would cost significant money. Do you see the pattern here? All of these players would cost between 70 and 100 million pounds. Every single one of them. That is the market rate for young, proven Premier League midfielders right now. The prices are crazy. And this is exactly why Joao Gomes becomes such an attractive option. He is proven in the Premier League just like the others. He is young like the others. He has years ahead of him like the others. But he could cost £30 million instead of £100 million because of Wolves' relegation situation. From a pure value perspective, it is a no-brainer. Yes, maybe Gomes is not quite as flashy as Baleba or Wharton. Maybe he does not have the same ceiling as some of the others. But he is a very good player who can come in and do a specific job extremely well. And he costs a third of the price. Now, here is what I think United should do. I think they should sign Joao Gomes for £30 million. Then use the £70 million they saved to sign one of the other targets as well. Imagine getting Gomes and Wharton. Or Gomes and Baleba. Suddenly, you have transformed your entire midfield for roughly the same price as buying just one of those expensive options. This is the kind of smart business that successful clubs do. They find value. They do not overpay just for the sake of it. They look for opportunities in the market where they can get quality players at reasonable prices. And the Wolves situation presents exactly that kind of opportunity. The Matheus Cunha connection. A potential package deal. Here is something really interesting that not many people are talking about. Matheus Cunha also plays for Wolves. And Matheus Cunha is close friends with Joao Gomes. Really close friends. They play together for Brazil. They are buddies off the pitch. They have great chemistry. Manchester United have been linked with Cunha as well. He is a talented forward who can play in multiple positions. He can play as a striker. He can play on the wing. He can play as a number 10. He is versatile, which is exactly what modern football requires. Now, imagine if United signed both Gomes and Cunha from Wolves in the summer. You would be getting two players who already have an understanding. Two players who are already friends. Two players who trust each other on the pitch. This is not a small thing. When you sign players who already know each other, the integration process becomes so much easier. They do not need time to build chemistry. They already have it. They know each other's movements. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses. They can communicate easily. Look at what happened when United signed Lisandro Martinez and Antony from Ajax. They already knew each other. They had played together. That familiarity helped them settle in quickly. Yes, Antony has not worked out as hoped, but that is a different issue. The point is that signing players who already have relationships can be beneficial. If Wolves get relegated, both Cunha and Gomes will be available. United could potentially do a double deal. Maybe negotiate a package price. Buy both players together for maybe 60 or 70 million pounds total. That would be incredible business. Cunha would give United another attacking option. Someone who can play multiple positions. Someone with flair and creativity. And Gomes would give them the defensive midfielder they desperately need. Two signings that address two different areas of the squad. Two players who are already friends. It is almost too perfect. Now, I am not saying this will definitely happen. Football does not work like that. There are always complications. Other clubs might be interested in these players too. The players themselves might have other preferences. Wolves might demand more money than United are willing to pay. But as a concept, as an idea, it makes a lot of sense. And United would be smart to at least explore the possibility of a double deal. Sometimes these package deals work out really well because you can negotiate better prices when you are buying multiple players from the same club. The seller saves on negotiation time and costs. They get a bigger total fee which helps their books. And the buying club gets better value because they are spending more in total. It is a win-win situation when done right. What this tells us about Manchester United's new transfer strategy. Let's zoom out for a moment and talk about what all of this tells us about how Manchester United are approaching transfers now. Because there has been a clear shift in strategy over the past year or so. For years, United were known for spending huge money on big-name players. They would break transfer records. They would pay massive wages. They would go for the glamorous signings that made headlines. Sometimes it worked. Often it did not. Think about some of the expensive signings United have made in recent years. Paul Pogba for £89 million. Harry Maguire for £80 million. Antony for £85 million. Casemiro for £60 million plus massive wages. Jadon Sancho for £73 million. These are eye-watering amounts of money. And what happened? Some of these players never lived up to their price tags. Some of them had good moments but were not consistent enough. Some of them ended up leaving for free or for much less than United paid for them. The club lost hundreds of millions of pounds on bad transfer decisions. But now, there seems to be a different approach. United are looking at value. They are looking at Premier League proven players who will not need time to adapt. They are looking at younger players who can grow with the club. They are looking at smart deals rather than statement signings. Look at the evidence. The interest in Joao Gomes is all about value. Here is a quality player who might cost £30 million instead of £100 million. That is smart business. The focus on Premier League players is also telling. Wharton, Belieber, Anderson, Scott, Gomes. All of them play in England already. All of them understand the league. All of them have proven they can handle the intensity and physicality of English football. There is much less risk when you sign players from the Premier League compared to bringing someone from Spain or Italy or Germany. United learned this lesson the hard way. They signed players like Donny van de Beek who looked great in Holland but could not adapt to England. They signed players who needed time to settle in, and by the time they figured it out, half their contract was gone. Now, they want players who can hit the ground running. Players who already know the league. Players who will not need 6 months to adapt. This makes so much sense. The emphasis on younger players is also smart. Gomes is 23. Wharton is 20. Belieber is 21. Anderson is 22. These are players who can be at Manchester United for the next decade. You are not just buying them for now. You are buying them for the future. You are building something sustainable. Compare this to signing someone like Casemiro who was already 30 years old when he joined. Yes, he gave you 2 or 3 good years. But then age caught up with him and suddenly you are back in the transfer market looking for his replacement. When you sign younger players, you avoid that constant need to replace aging stars. What we are seeing is Manchester United trying to operate more like a well-run club. They are trying to be smart. They are trying to find value. They are trying to build for the long term. This is exactly what fans have been asking for. Does this mean United will never make big money signings again? No, of course not. If the right player becomes available, someone who can genuinely transform the team, United will still spend big. But they are not going to waste money on average players anymore. They are not going to overpay just because they are Manchester United. The Joao Gomes situation is a perfect example of this new approach. Here is a player who can improve the team. Here is a player who is young and has potential. Here is a player who is proven in the Premier League. And here is a player who might be available for a very reasonable price. That ticks all the boxes for modern Manchester United. The competition. Who else wants Joao Gomes? Of course, Manchester United are not the only club who have noticed that Joao Gomes might be available for a good price. When word gets out that a quality player could be sold cheaply because his club is getting relegated, other teams start paying attention. So who else might be interested in signing Gomes? Well, we have not seen many concrete reports about other clubs yet. But we can make some educated guesses based on who needs midfielders and who would be able to offer him a good project. Arsenal could be interested. They always look for value in the market. They have been brilliant at finding underrated players and improving them. A player like Gomes would fit their profile perfectly. He is young, he is talented, he is available for a reasonable price. Mikel Arteta might see him as someone who can provide depth in midfield. Liverpool could also be in the mix. They need to refresh their midfield. They have signed some players in that area recently, but they could always use more quality. Gomes is exactly the type of player that Liverpool like to target. Hard-working, intelligent, good value for money. Tottenham are another possibility. Ange Postecoglou likes his teams to press high and win the ball back quickly. A defensive midfielder like Gomes would be useful in his system. And Spurs have the money to compete with anyone for his signature. Even some of the mid-table clubs might be interested. Teams like Aston Villa, Newcastle, or West Ham could see Gomes as someone who would improve their starting 11. They might not be as attractive as Manchester United, but they could offer him regular football. The good news for United is that they have advantages over most of these competitors. They are a bigger club than almost everyone else. They can pay higher wages. They can offer Champions League football, assuming they qualify this season. They have the prestige and history that players dream about. If it comes down to a bidding war between United and most other Premier League clubs, United should win. Players want to play for Manchester United. It is still one of the biggest clubs in the world. That pull factor is real. The bigger concern would be if a European giant gets involved. What if Barcelona or Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or Paris Saint-Germain decide they want Gomes? Then United might have a problem. These clubs have just as much prestige. They can pay just as much money. And they can offer guaranteed Champions League football. But here is the thing. Those super clubs usually do not shop in the £30 million market. They go for the £80 or £100 million stars. They want the finished article, not the developing talent. So the chances of them seriously competing for Gomes are probably quite low. United's biggest competition is likely to come from other Premier League clubs who are looking for value and who need midfielders. And against those clubs, United should be confident of winning the race. The key is to move quickly once Wolves' relegation is confirmed. Do not mess about. Do not wait weeks negotiating over £5 million here or there. Get the deal done fast before other clubs have time to organize their own bids. This is where having a good relationship with the players' representatives matters. If Gomes and his team want United, they can help push the deal through quickly. How Gomes would fit into Ruben Amorim's system. Let's talk tactics for a moment. How would Joao Gomes actually fit into the way Ruben Amorim wants Manchester United to play? This is important because there is no point signing a player if he does not suit the manager's system. Amorim typically uses a 3-4-3 formation or variations of it. He likes his teams to be aggressive. He wants them to press high up the pitch. He wants them to win the ball back quickly and then attack with speed and purpose. This is modern, attacking football that United fans will enjoy. In this system, the role of the defensive midfielder is crucial. Really crucial. You need someone who can sit in front of the back three. Someone who can cover when the wing-backs push forward. Someone who can break up opposition attacks. Someone who can recycle possession and keep the team ticking over. This is exactly what Joao Gomes does. He is perfect for this role. Let me break down why. First, his defensive positioning is excellent. He knows where to be. He does not get dragged out of position chasing the ball. He holds his spot and forces the opposition to come to him. This discipline is vital when you are playing with attacking wing-backs who are high up the pitch. Someone needs to cover that space in front of the defense. Second, his work rate is incredible. Amorim's system requires midfielders who can cover a lot of ground. You are constantly transitioning between attack and defense. You need to be able to sprint back when you lose the ball. You need to be able to support attacks when you win it. Gomes has that engine. He can run all day. Third, his passing is reliable. He is not going to give you Hollywood balls like Paul Pogba used to try. He is not going to attempt 50-yard diagonal passes every 2 minutes. But he will give you simple, effective passes that keep your team moving forward. In Amorim's system, where speed of play matters, this consistency is valuable. Fourth, he is strong in the tackle. The Premier League is physical. Teams will try to bully you. You need midfielders who can compete physically and win their battles. Gomes does not shy away from challenges. He puts his body on the line. He wins tackles. He makes it difficult for opponents to play through the middle. Fifth, he is intelligent without the ball. Modern defensive midfielders need to be smart. They need to read the game. They need to anticipate what the opposition will do. They need to cover passing lanes and force mistakes. Gomes does all of this really well. He is always in the right place at the right time. When you put all of this together, you have a player who is tailor-made for Amorim's system. He would slot into that defensive midfield role and make the whole team function better. The defense would be more protected. The attacking players would have more freedom knowing Gomes is covering behind them. The team would be more balanced. Compare this to what United have now. Casemiro used to do this job, but he cannot anymore. His legs have gone. He gets caught out too often. Mainu is more of a box-to-box midfielder. He is not really a sitting defensive midfielder. Eriksen definitely is not that player. None of United's current options are perfect for this specific role. Gomes would be perfect for it. And that is why United want him. It is not just about signing a midfielder. It is about signing the right midfielder for the system. That is smart recruitment. The financial sense. Why 30 million is a steal. Let's talk money. Because in modern football, you cannot ignore the financial side of transfers. Everything comes down to value. Is the player worth what you are paying? Will he provide good return on investment? Can you afford the deal without breaking financial regulations? At £30 million, Joao Gomes would be one of the bargains of the summer transfer window. Let me put this in context by comparing him to other defensive midfielders who have been bought recently. When Arsenal signed Declan Rice from West Ham, they paid £105 million. Yes, Rice is an excellent player. Yes, he is English, which adds a premium. But £105 million is an enormous amount of money. When Manchester City bought Matheus Nunes from Wolves, they paid around £53 million. Nunes has barely played for City. He has not been able to break into their team. That is £53 million sitting on the bench most weeks. When Chelsea signed Moises Caicedo from Brighton, they paid over £100 million. Caicedo is a good player, but has he been £100 million good? Debatable. These are the market rates for defensive midfielders right now. If you want a quality player in that position, you're looking at spending 60, 70, 80, maybe even £100 million. That is just reality. So when you can get a player like Joao Gomes for £30 million, that is exceptional value. He might not be quite at the level of a Declan Rice. He might not have the same ceiling as a Caicedo. But he is a very good player who can definitely do a job for Manchester United. And he costs a third or a quarter of what those other players cost. Think about what United can do with the money they save. If they budgeted £90 million for a defensive midfielder, and they get Gomes for £30 million, they have £60 million left over. That is enough to sign another midfielder, or a winger, or a striker, or invest in 2 young players for the future. This is how smart clubs build squads. They do not spend all their money on one position. They spread it around. They find value where they can and then use the savings to strengthen other areas. This is what Liverpool did when they were building their Champions League winning team. This is what Arsenal are doing now as they challenge for the title. From a financial fair play perspective, this also makes sense. UEFA and the Premier League have strict rules about how much clubs can spend relative to their income. If you spend £100 million on one player, that is a huge hit to your budget. It limits what else you can do. But if you spend £30 million, you have much more flexibility.